Today we're going to talk about power brake boosters and the most common questions we get here at the Stop Shop about them. Power brakes operate off atmospheric pressure that pushes on the diaphragm within your brake booster, while simultaneously your engine vacuum is pulling on that diaphragm to give power assist to your vehicle, so that the amount of force you put through the pedal into the brake booster gets multiplied and more pressure goes into the master cylinder and out to your wheels. Does it matter whether you have disc brakes or drum brakes for a power brake booster? It does not. So a power brake booster is going to offer power assist and increase the amount of pressure going into a master cylinder, regardless of whether that master cylinder is supplying drum brakes or disc brakes. The next question that's very common is how much vacuum do I need for power brakes to work properly? I wish that there was a standalone answer there that was across the board, right? Unfortunately, there's not a point where at 15 inches of vacuum your brakes don't work, and at 16 they start to work well. It really depends on some other factors: the size of your brake booster, the bore diameter of your master cylinder, your pedal ratio, and the type of brakes you have, the size of the pistons in your calipers, or the size of your brake shoes. So we generally tell people that 16 to 18 inches of vacuum usually is a good number to aim for at idle. So it's not that you rev up the motor to get to 16 or 18 inches of vacuum. It's when you're just idling in the car. But having said that, there are certain times at 14 or 15 inches of vacuum with a large 11-inch brake booster, for instance, might give you a really good power brake pedal feel, whereas that same 15 inches or 14 inches of vacuum going to a smaller 7-inch single diaphragm brake booster or a 7-inch dual might still give you an extremely hard pedal. You might need 18 to 20 inches of vacuum for a small brake booster or certain master cylinders. So you've probably noticed as you shop online that some brake boosters are listed as single diaphragm, some are listed as dual. That simply means that within the brake booster there's either one rubber diaphragm that's helping give you power assist, or like this one here, there are two diaphragms, which we call a dual diaphragm brake booster. As a general rule, a dual diaphragm booster doesn't mean that it's producing double the amount of power assist that a single would. It, roughly speaking, is going to add 30% more than its own size equivalent. So an 8-inch single diaphragm brake booster is going to be 30% less powerful than an 8-inch dual diaphragm brake booster. We usually tell people to go with the largest brake booster you can fit within the vehicle. So that's going to give you the best pedal feel, and generally speaking is going to give you the most power assist, which is what you usually want. So some vehicles, 67 and up vehicles from the factory, came with an 11-inch brake booster, at least on GM midsize cars. Whereas the 64 to 66 GM midsize cars would have had a 9-inch brake booster from the factory. So the reason we aim people towards that larger brake booster is a lot of times in the past we've sold people at their request a 7-inch single or 7-inch dual diaphragm brake booster because they're unsure of how much bass they have within the engine compartment. And a smaller brake booster, once they install it, sometimes will give a hard brake pedal, almost like they have a mix between manual and power brakes, and just doesn't give you that soft feeling like a new car would for power brakes. So that kind of covers the size of the brake booster, how much vacuum is necessary. So you want as much vacuum as possible. Your power brakes are going to get better as your vacuum increases and as your brake booster gets larger. Next up, we're going to talk a little bit about connecting the brake booster to the master cylinder. So when you buy a brake booster alone, something that's often forgotten is that it needs to be compatible with your master cylinder. So all of our 7-inch diaphragm brake boosters and 8-inch dual diaphragm brake boosters have a short rod coming out of the front here. It's only sticking up right about to the mounting surface for the master cylinder. And what that means is when you go to mount your master cylinder that you already have, if you're buying your brake booster alone, you'll need to make sure that it's what's called a shallow pocket master cylinder. All of the master cylinders we carry here have a deep pocket, and that's this pocket here where you'd be able to stick your finger into the master cylinder pocket about an inch and a half. We offer them all with a deep pocket with a plug to make it compatible with any brake booster. But if you happen to already have a master cylinder that you're hoping to use, if you use a 7-inch dual diaphragm brake booster or 8-inch dual diaphragm brake booster from us, you would need to make sure that you have a shallow pocket master cylinder, that it doesn't have a deep hole here in the front of the master. On all of our 9-inch and 11-inch brake boosters, there's a pin that's separate that you're going to actually install into the brake booster. And we give you two different lengths. One that just comes right up to the mating surface of the master cylinder, and this is the longer one that installs in and sticks out about an inch and a half. So this one that sticks out an inch and a half will mate up perfectly to a master cylinder with a deep pocket. One of these ones that I talked about that has a hole with a depth of about an inch and a half in it. So that when you mount your master cylinder on, this rod is not making contact with the piston, but it's very close. So what you want to make sure of when you're buying a brake booster is that once you mount your master cylinder on, you want the rod coming out of the brake booster to be as close to making contact with the piston of the master cylinder without actually preloading it. If this rod's too long, you'll put your master cylinder on and you'll have brake drag because the piston of your master cylinder is getting pushed in and putting pressure out to the wheels at all times. So that's just something you want to take into consideration if buying a brake booster alone, that you're going to have to make sure that it mates up with your master cylinder pocket depth. Next, we'll talk about mounting a brake booster to the firewall. A lot of the brake boosters we sell, we can include a set of mounting brackets that are going to mount to the back of your brake booster and have the correct pattern to bolt directly to studs coming out of your firewall. So this is true for most 50s, 60s, and 70s GM vehicles. We have a lot of Mopar applications that we have brackets for as well. If you're looking for a brake booster to just mount up to a street rod or an application that you can't find a brake booster for, you would just leave the brackets off, and you may need to make some modifications either to your firewall or to get back to your pedal. But as long as you know that all of our brake boosters are going to come with 4 studs coming out of the back to mount to the firewall, and each one of these is 3 3/8 of an inch center to center vertically, 3 3/8 of an inch horizontally, center to center. Oddly enough, all of our brake boosters also have 3 3/8 of an inch center to center on the front portion where the master cylinder mounts, which is standard for GM vehicles. All of our brake boosters we have available in a black finish, a gold finish, or a chrome finish like you see here. If you have any questions about brake boosters, master cylinders, or anything brakes, give us a call at the Stop Shop, 614-557-3442. Thanks a lot for watching.